Welcome to the Hell is Chrome podcast. What's up? I'm your host, Andrew Dyer, back after a week off, and what a week it was. Nothing changed on this front, but our co-host and producer John Cross was down under in Australia, visiting the wallabies and all of the wonderful creatures in the outback. So, to talk more about his travels, let's bring on our producer and co-host John Cross. John,
Uh,
what's up?
good to be good to be back. Had a wonderful trip down under, as you said, and got to see some. I'm sure because I've been asked by people already. Yes, got to see kangaroos in the wild and some emu. So those were the two big things, but really wasn't a for me as big trip to see family. So we were on both coasts, east coast and west coast of Australia,
All
over
right.
the two
So,
weeks, and
I have
yeah,
thoughts about this because I too have visited both coasts of Australia, east and west. All right.
yes.
Which one? East or west?
Oh, I don't know. It's we talked about that. Like if you were to live there, I would think I would definitely live in Melbourne. That
Melbourne.
especially
Okay.
in sporting terms, I liked what it had to offer. Attended an AFL match. That was fun. Um, really enjoyed Sydney. I don't think I'd want to live there, but it was a great city to visit.
Did you do the bridge
Um,
hike thing?
no, did not do the bridge hike. Did a harbor tour and did a lot of walking, but didn't do the bridge. And then we have other family outside of Perth, and it's you had mentioned this to me before. I think not on a podcast, but another time we were talking. Is very San Diego like in Perth. It felt very outside of Perth and stuff. I
It's
felt very
giving
much
San
at home.
Diego. Absolutely. Perth is
Yeah.
yeah, it's very much uh yeah, so Sydney, right? Opera House, smaller than it looks, right? Did you go to the Opera
I
House?
yeah, it's still impressed. We stayed right downtown there in Circular Quay, and it was nice. It was nice. A lot of the history and walking around. I love history, especially going to a city. That's one of the things I enjoy going to check out all the historical stuff that they have. So in that sense, it was very interesting. Like I said, did the harbor tours. That was good to get some more historical context and background. Um, but it was nice get able to we were able to walk to everything we wanted to do. Really enjoyed Sydney from a tourist standpoint, but yeah, don't think I'd want to live there.
So maybe folks may not realize this. I am a very highly educated person, so it's actually winter in Australia right now. I don't know if people know that, but so was it cold? Did you have to bring your winter gear?
Yeah, it did. Melbourne was cold and wet. It was probably low 50s, mid 40s to low 50s, depending on the time of day. So that was, an abrupt change from leaving San Diego a couple weeks ago and then heading to that. Sydney actually was beautiful. We didn't have any rain and it was probably mid 60s. So it was sunny days, mid 60s, mild, super nice. And then Perth was cold and wet. We had a lot of rain when we were over on the west coast. So yes, we had to pack and prepare a little differently than when we had left to make sure we went from, 95 or whatever it was in Escondido when I left to being like 48 when we landed in Melbourne.
So this was a. It sounds like you did a lot of traveling in a short amount of time. It was only 2 weeks ago we were on this podcast, and you hadn't left yet.
Yes, right.
And
Yeah, I
it's
think
been
I
two
left a
weeks.
couple
You're
days
back.
after it.
This seems like a very long way to go for a short amount of time. How are you feeling?
I'm actually feeling really good. I didn't have too much trouble either way with jet lag, and I think, I always complain about the naps I have to take with my, long COVID, post-COVID syndrome here. But I think that actually helped me. All I did was kind of flip-flop my nap and my overnight. So since I normally get some sleep during the middle of the day anyway, I transitioned super easily over, you know, to being 7, 9 hours difference from what we are here, depending which coast we're on. And same thing coming back. I felt good. Slept well on the plane. Both our plane rides were basically overnight flights, so I haven't had any trouble yet. Maybe it'll catch up to me in a couple of days, but so far I'm doing well.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, super jealous. Australia is one of the most interesting places I think anybody could visit. It's so similar yet so weird. The from like the Hungry Jacks to
The Hungry Jacks, yes.
the everything is just so. It just feels off. It does feel like you're in another dimension almost, because everything looks almost like America, but everybody talks really funny, and everything is called the wrong name.
Yeah, and having to stay on the left all the time. when you're even walking, your natural inclination here is to stay to the right, and then you gotta get used to some of that. I mean, that was fairly easy, but you're right. You very much feel at home because it feels so much like an American city, but then again, slightly off for some things.
Well, so while you were gone, I guess there was some soccer stuff going on. We have been kind of in this weird zone of, I think, inaction. I think in the when it comes to the union, I think your vacation and I think some other folks may have had summer things to do. So I feel like maybe things have not been moving along as quickly as maybe our most ambitious predictions would have suggested they'd be. So let's get right into union updates.
Okay.
What's going on? What do people need to know about? Where are we at right now?
I think what you said at the beginning is probably accurate. I was out. Miguel, who's the vice president, was out for part of the time that I was out as well. So I think now, today, is probably the first time the 4 members of the executive team have been in San Diego at the same time. I think we've always had someone out over these last few weeks since the elections. So we're hoping to really hit the ground running. And yes, it did make things a little difficult, but I still stayed in communication with people a little bit on my downtime. And there was still a meeting we had last Thursday. I attended that via Zoom from the west coast of Australia. So we have some things that we will be talking about and communicating with leadership this week in regards to that meeting. But in general, we're slowly plugging ahead with the committees and getting, the governance structure fleshed out, getting our code of conduct squared away, which I think that's nearly done, figuring out membership dues and benefits, and those are pretty close. They officially haven't started, but there's not a lot to do. There's already been conversations on that, but the membership group will be pivoting to that here pretty soon. And we're just still looking for people. We just keep slowly getting a handful more people joining the different committees and helping out, which is fantastic. That's what we need to help build this. And hopefully now, with everybody back, August will be the month where we really start seeing some changes. And we may not quite be on track for mid-August memberships. There's a, like always, there's some bumps and hurdles that get thrown in the way periodically, and we're still going to push for that. We can say that's part of a meeting we'll have with the executive team this Thursday. See if we can iron out some of those and lay out some more concrete timelines to send out to the rest of the committees, and see if we can't stay completely on track for mid-August, how close we can be to still make that happen to open up memberships.
Well, yeah, I think that's a real key thing that folks who might be listening or watching should definitely be paying attention to, because once those memberships open up, that's going to be there's going to be a big push to get everybody rolled over and enrolled in whatever way we can, because that's a big milestone for the union, right? Just to
Right.
be able to go back to the club and say, listen, this supporter section, we're at this number, we're projecting this number. We want to be able to start nailing this down, because there have been. I saw that, and I'm not on the season ticket email list. I'm not active in the ticket like game, right? Because I'm just waiting on supporter tickets. But I know they did release some more season tickets. I think the lower bowl tickets were all released, and yeah, it's pricey. So we need to come to the front office with a big number in that supporter section to really get some bargaining power to make sure that we can make being a supporter of this club a non-luxury for people. Like, I don't personally, I don't want being a supporter to be a luxury for people, or something that you are sacrificing other parts of your life, except for your time. Please give us all of your time. But financially speaking, we really want to keep these prices as affordable as possible, and having a big number to throw at the front office, I think, will be really important in getting that number.
Right. And I mean, that's part of the nature of being supporters. I mean, it's generally, they're not the tickets that are the luxury box tickets or the high price sideline tickets or anything else. And part of it is, in exchange for the atmosphere that gets created. So I think it would be safe to say that if SDFC overprices for that supporter section, they will not get the supporter section that we could give them. If depending how it's priced, I guess it will make a difference. It absolutely will make a difference. And if they overprice supporters, they're not going to have much of a supporter section there.
Yeah, and it's interesting to watch the kind of, and I'm pivoting a little bit here, but it's interesting to watch the way the club is making progress, because it seems like to me there are two tracks, right? There's like the operations track, and then there's like the football track, right? We're on the football track. We're getting player signings and more kind of. I was watching. What was I watching? The Olympics. I was watching a guy named Victor Wembanyama play basketball for France, and I saw a commercial for STFC with Chucky Lozano. And maybe these commercials have been airing. I don't know. I don't watch TV. I don't. I mean, I watch stuff. I pay for the non-commercials version of Hulu and the non-commercials version of, and like, if there's a no commercial option, I'm paying it, because I cannot stand commercial breaks, watching commercials. I don't like commercials. I don't like boner pill commercials. I hate them. I hate them. And my life is better without them. But point being, with the Olympics, I'm seeing commercials, and I saw SDFC, and I was like, oh wow, like there's SDFC commercials. I don't know why that just was. I'm guessing if I'm seeing it during the Olympics, there must be a wider marketing push at the moment. So,
right.
I feel like this is becoming much more, that ball that we talk about every week is really picking up steam.
Right. I think so as well. And it as we get more player signings, as we said, and as I think the MLS gets, post Leagues Cup and they return to the final stretch of the season and get to the playoffs and MLS Cup, all of that will start help building more momentum for SDFC as people start to realize this. Because as soon as the season ends, we're then officially on board, like, with the team and everything else. Because right now, if you go to the MLS site and everything, you don't see anything SDFC because we don't have a team and we're not playing. So it'll become more real as this 2024 season starts to wind down for everyone. And I think you'll see ticket sales and everything else pick up as we go through the fall and into the winter.
Yeah, I don't plan things more than a day or two in advance. So definitely my my Saturday evenings in 1 year, I'm not making those plans. But I think a lot of people are probably that way.
Yes, probably. I would agree.
So the club. Well, before I go to the club, I did want to mention there was a supporters happy hour tonight. I was not able to go, but I know you had mentioned that you were going to try to head out
I
there.
did. I went.
Well, let's get the debrief. How was the supporters happy hour?
I was good. A lot of the usual suspects. I don't know if there were new people. I was trying to get around to talk to as many people as possible. Ended up mostly talking with leaders from different SGs because trying to share some knowledge and some things that we've learned and to get ready for some of our upcoming meetings and start seeing where people are on their. I'm intentionally not divulging details, so I want to be clear about that. But just trying to see where everybody is so we can start making some decisions as we get towards the end of this week to get us moving forward. So for me, it was a good chance to touch base with a lot of people again. So I didn't really get a big broad overview. I know there was a raffle and I know there were some other, SDFC things going on and stuff they were pushing and giving
This
things
was
away.
a
I'm not even
club
sure.
event or this was a union event?
This was a club event, and my understanding it was also to kind of help recruit for new people. Hard to know when you go to one of these places if the people who are at the brewery or your outside patio area, how many just like it's their local that they go to and hang out anyway, or how many people were there um, for a different event or a different group because they met up, or how many people might have been there for SDFC and are interested in being part of a supporter group, but haven't quite joined a supporter group yet. Want to be part of the supporter section because, like I said, I wanted to try to get around, talk to as many people as I could, but I mostly was speaking with leadership, and of what I saw around there, it was mostly the usual suspects that go to a lot of these events. It didn't hard to tell if the new faces were there for SDFC or just there on their own at the pub.
Yeah. I think this. I'm not too concerned. I think this is just that summer malaise going on right now. It's like, it's hot in my house. I'm trying not to run the AC. I'm, the warmer house. I'm getting sleepy. I don't know. It's you're
Right.
I'm actually going into like the office, more. Well, they're making us go twice a week, so that's part of it. But also, I don't have to run my own AC when I go in, so that's another part of it. But yeah, I feel like just we're heading into August. I think once we toward the end of August and once the fall rolls around, things are really going to start to pick up. Um, for us as well, just because of the nature of the soccer season. We haven't had uh, as many events to talk about. There was a Chrome Ball this last weekend, but I was looking in the Discord, and I don't know if the locals set up a table. I know some of the other SGs were not going to be at the Solana Beach Chrome Ball, so yeah, I think it's just summer in San Diego. It's tough. People are busy doing other things.
Right. And I think, there's one coming up in Carlsbad this week as well. Um, and I think there was a lot of momentum with the initial Chrome Ball tour events. And then they took a big break in June because they did a bunch of watch parties because we had the Copa America and we had the Euros, and then that spilled over into July. And now we have the Olympics. I mean, there's things that are going on, and like you said, people are busy. I was just on, a vacation for a couple of weeks, so it's hard to get people together, I think, till after Labor Day. Then I think weekends, it's a little easier to start getting people together because most people are around again because the school year has started back up for anybody who has kids. So it's less likely they're going to be traveling at that point. Um, it just,
If the
it's
rest of
just a
the
busy time of
county
year.
would get on Sweetwater's schedule, my kid's been back in school for a week. I don't know what you're talking about. School
Uh,
school been done started. Okay, like he's been back for a week. we're already in fall mode. Everybody else needs to catch up. Come on, just get on this.
Yeah, but you guys get those extra breaks during the year. Don't you get a
We
week in
do.
September and another break?
So
Yeah.
that would be fall break.
Fall
A
break, right.
couple weeks in September for fall break, and then I don't know, it's like a month over Christmas and New Year, and then 2 weeks spring break, and yeah, there's some extra
That's
stuff in
nice.
there.
Yeah.
It's and the shorter summer break I think is really good, just because you don't have that huge gap between the end of the year
Right.
and the beginning of the year. It's just 6 weeks, so whatever summer events we're going to do, it's in that 6 weeks, and then it's back to normal.
Right. Yeah. Ours is only 8 weeks. Like when I think of it, only a couple weeks longer, but it does feel like anybody who's been back in school already feels like that's super early. But then when I think about it, as teachers in my district, we report back next week. So, I mean, it's really not that much different. Like we're in by early August as well. So
Yeah.
it's we're all heading back to get into our regular routines again. And as we said, things will likely pick up
Although I
as we
will
start
say,
moving into the
because
fall.
I have to drive really far for his soccer practice, um, up in Carmel Valley, and with school being out, that that 56 connector, it's so much better
So much
traffic
better,
wise.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like night and day. Like when the fair ended and then school's out, like it's great right now. I'm not, they can stay gone for all I care for that aspect of it.
Yeah, you got about another week before that changes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so what do we have coming up? What do people need to know about as far as either club events or union events? I know we've talked a lot about organizing as a union some events, kind of separate from the club, right? Not
Right.
relying on the club to put all this stuff together. Um, and you've been on the ground in San Diego less than 24 hours, so sorry if I'm putting you on the spot here, but is anything in the works right now? Was this part of the conversations you had tonight with some of the folks?
Um, Not so much that, but that is on, I'll say, the docket for Thursday for some conversations, and then out to wider leadership after that is to try to clean up the calendar for us, like get things squared away so that we know where to direct our energies, especially coming into August, because August is going to be a very big month for us as a union. So we want to make sure we get all that, that we're all on the same page moving forward, and we understand our timelines. So we are looking, don't know a date or anything, but as some kind of supporter rally, I guess I'll call it for lack of a better word, maybe late August. But we're looking at potential venues. We're looking at a bunch of different things right now. So, yes, it is. We are at the point where we need to start doing things, whether it's with the club or without. But we need to start doing some things as the union rather than as a collection of individual SGs. And I think that's a bit of a distinction. Even just the the idea, the thought that we're all there together as one entity, rather than seven separate entities all there for the same cause. It may seem like semantics, and maybe it is in some respects, but I think it really makes a difference in terms of perception and how people feel like we're all there together as one bigger group that's made up of these smaller individual independent SGs. But when we're there as that umbrella group, we're all there together. We're there for the same thing. If we're looking at game days, shoulder to shoulder with one voice, as we've said, and we need to start doing more those together things where we get to meet more people from the other SGs. And any of us who've been involved in these committees and with leadership, we've had some of those opportunities. We need more of our just general membership from all the SGs to come together and meet other people from the other SGs as well, and do some events. They're just for us. They're not necessarily driven by or around SDFC, but they are around us, building that community that we need to be successful, of standing shoulder to shoulder with one voice on match days, once 2025 rolls around.
Yeah. I was uh when we talk about this, that seems to be one of the challenges that I've noticed is just leadership because everybody's so involved in what's going on. We're all kind of familiar with each other and have been, but like for the, I don't like the term, but like the rank and file, like SG members,
Right.
um, it's really challenging keeping people engaged if they're not, if they don't have a leadership role, they don't have a job to do, they don't have something, a responsibility.
Right.
It's tough to stay engaged. And this is not just like as the union, but like says like in like the locals SG, right? Where you notice in our Discord, people kind of aren't as active.
Right.
I mean, even myself too. Like I have not been active in Discord the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, and that's just because you know there's not a lot happening. So
Right.
uh, and I am kind of an involved person. So if I'm not even super active, then how would I expect anybody else to be? But there was an event. I guess it was last weekend. I don't know if you saw this on social media, but the Loyal or the former Loyal, because
I
the
did.
entity does not no longer exist, but uh, released a like a retrospective, like a book, like a Loyal Legacy book, and there was a get together at Stone, and I did not make that, but just looking at the photos from socials, a lot of people did make it out there. A lot of faces that I haven't seen in a while, and point being that people will show up and come out for things. Even if a team is no longer around, like people will show up to you know bring the community together. So
Right.
I'd like to capture some of that in our union now, right? Like I'd like to get
Correct. Yeah.
um, you know, extend the invitation to everybody who maybe you went to pick up their Loyal Legacy book to come on out to the next La Raza Union event because um, we'd all like to hang out with everybody again.
Yeah. I'll give you a funny story about that. Is my wife and I were just going for a walk in in Bunbury, which is where we were, which is south of Perth. And on that day of the event, and I guess for us it's the next day, but about midnight, I'll give a shout out to Jason Radcliffe. I get a text from Jason saying, "Hey, just in case you didn't know," and I knew of the event, and I knew people were like, "Where's the link? Share the link if anybody gets the link." So he texted me the link. So here I am. I'm on my phone in Bunbury, Western Australia, outside of an Aldi because my wife has gone in to pick up a couple of things. And I get a text from Jason, and I have the link, and I order the link from a place in the UK to get it shipped to my house in Escondido, all in like 3 minutes, right? So our modern world that I'm halfway across the world and, able to get a text from someone and order it and get it shipped, and I'm eagerly awaiting my copy right now.
Okay, so you
Did
didn't
you
have
did
to
you
go
order
to
a copy of
Stone.
that?
No, I guess I need to if they're still out there. I don't know. I thought it was just a distro
I'll
thing at
send it to you
Stone.
after we're done. The link, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, that
But
was
I
good.
think
And
it was
good.
I was gonna say, I think it was shared, or it might have been shared in the locals Discord. But I'll share it with you afterwards.
All right, cool. Well, John, I know we've kind of been talking a little bit about the doldrums, the summer doldrums, a little bit. Is there anything between now and next week's show that people need to know about? Any events this coming up weekend that we need to get out there?
Well, the club is having another Chrome Ball Tour event for Carlsbad. This is the one that was postponed from, I don't know, April, like way back, several months ago, and it was moved to this August 3rd date. So that's coming up. I, in front of me, don't have the time. I know it's up on the club's website. So there'll be a Chrome Ball Tour event for anyone in North County, or for anyone who wants to go, but it'll be in Carlsbad for anybody who wants to head out there. Other than that, I'm not sure. Again, because I'm just recently back, not even 24 hours right now, so I'm not sure about all the watch party stuff. But again, you can check the club's website if they're doing anything for the Olympic soccer matches specifically.
Is it just me? I'm
But
I'm
just
I'm feeling like because it's mostly like U23s. I don't know if I'm just am I just like am I weird? I'm just not like that in tune with US Olympic soccer. Like I really care about Olympic basketball and like I don't know, I can't, get the same I don't get the same like feeling for Olympic soccer. Is this a me problem or is this a general thing with US Olympic soccer?
Well, I think on the men's side, it's certainly, an under 23, not on the women's side. Obviously, they
Mm,
still play their full team. So I think that's why there is a little more um, excitement, maybe, around the women's team. I mean, they're good. They have a good new coach. So I think there's, um, and had a thrashing of Germany. I mean, that was all some positive signs, and they're playing with the best players. And yes, although, the men's team for the U.S. had a good match this morning. Are making it to the quarterfinals for the first time in what 24 years, I think it is. So just a game away from the possibility of being in contention for a medal. That's like how often do we hear that with the U.S. men's side? I mean, we hear it all the
yeah.
time with the women's side, but how often with the men's side? So that'll
I
be.
mean, they didn't even
Um,
make the Olympics the last time, right? So,
I haven't made the Olympics for so long. 2008 maybe was the last time they made
mm,
the Olympics, I think. Yeah, the men's side, although the only game I've seen, because being in Australia, I'm sure this is a shock to everyone that when you try to watch Olympic coverage, it's all the Australian teams, right? So I know a whole lot about Australian swimmers now and kayakers and all their top athletes. It's funny, like you said, it's so much like being in the US. Like watching their Olympic coverage is like a blueprint of what we do for our Olympic coverage. You feel like if it wasn't Australia and it wasn't the yellow and gold or green and gold, um, that you would be watching a U.S. coverage. But obviously it's not, and you don't really get the only time I saw any U.S. coverage was I think on the last day before we left was some women's gymnastics because Australia just doesn't really have much of a team. So then they covered the U.S. women's team. But outside of that, it's all Australian sports as you would expect being in Australia. So I missed getting any kind of coverage other than seeing some results. Right, even trying to get some YouTube videos like it's not available in this country. I get a lot of that. It's like I was uh, really missing getting any kind of
you got to
highlights,
get that
especially on
VPN.
the soccer end. Yeah, I was too lazy to do any of that. Um, but it was just every time I had a chance to peek in, I'd go through my normal channels like, ugh, I can't do it because I'm in another country. So
I mean, at least your
that
phone
was
worked. I mean, that was the thing when I was traveling a lot
I
in
made
the
sure that I had the
yeah.
had the proper plan to do that. Yeah, because that
I
was going to
used
be
to
too difficult.
yeah, back in the 2000s, you actually had to buy a certain kind of cell phone.
Yes,
I was
I did that on a
living in
trip.
was living in Japan, and I actually bought it was called Global Passport. It was a certain phone from
Yeah,
AU that would work in other countries, and like I bought it specifically for that purpose because we were always on the boat going to different countries, and I wanted my phone to work. Now all the phones will work. You just have to make sure your plan covers it, right?
right. Yeah. And that is the nice thing. I remember doing a trip to the UK in 2007 and doing the same thing. Just we arrived, we were in Edinburgh, bought a phone on a phone. I don't even remember the service or anything, but bought, basically a disposable phone with a phone plan for that covered the time we were there so that we could
We call those
contact the people
burners,
we were going
John.
to see.
In the
Yeah,
streets, we call them burners.
well, that's what we got. We got a burner phone, so no one can trace us. But no, that was what you did because they were cheap and it was easy,
Yeah.
and it was way too hard to try to set up an international plan on your device. But like
Yeah.
you said, nowadays it's if you have a smartphone, it's super easy.
Yeah. Well, all right. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you maybe have some anticipatory jet lag coming up. I don't know when you're gonna narcolep out on us and just totally crash.
Yeah.
So, but I just want to let folks know, hey, we're gonna be back next week. We'll have some more updates for you from the union side. Now that the president's back from vacation, maybe we'll finally get some stuff done, and we can update y'all with some more good news about progress, and hopefully we will have some more concrete information about those memberships rolling out and what to expect on that end. But we're gonna let John catch up with what he needs to catch up with, including all of the naps he may have missed on the flight. And we'll be back next week. So thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Good night.